I would like to look with you at what is essential for gratefulness. Because if you look at it, what's essential, you will find that this is the same that's essential in Zen and in yoga and in any Christian practice or any other practice. And the essence of being grateful, and obviously we are not just talking about saying thank you, we are talking about that inner gesture, that inner attitude from which saying thank you springs when it is genuine. And that gratefulness, the essence of it is accepting what is. Accepting what is. And that, of course, implies being in the now. Because what is always now. As T.S. Eliot says so beautifully in the Four Quartets, all is always now. Now that seems like obvious, but it's very important to remind ourselves that all is always now. If it isn't now, it is not. It was or will be, but it is not. Whatever is now. So accepting what is means being in the now, and being in the now means dissolving the illusion of our little ego. And that's the goal of all practices. Because when you're in the now, this little me dissolves because it feeds on past and future. Your little me, if you look carefully at it, is made up of your past, of all the things that you have done, or that you pride yourself in, or that are these groups that you belong to. If you ask, who am I? If somebody asks you, who are you? You will describe you as being an Austrian or an American or a Hungarian. So that's something in the past, where you come from. Or that you have such a name, that means you belong to such and such a family, and all that, and all the things that you have suffered. The little me has suffered so much and prides itself in always having suffered more than everybody else. If you can't be better than anybody else, you have all your degrees and other things that you have, but if you can't be better than somebody else, you can at least be much worse than everybody else. It's also something of the past. Right? And then the future, all the things that you expect and hope for in the sense of hopes, that you spin your hopes on, things that you will still accomplish. I will still accomplish enlightenment. That's something for the future. Well, that's not the way it works. If it isn't now, don't expect it coming later. See? But this now is just what this little self is so afraid of, because if you're in the now, it vanishes. It has no foothold in the now. So those are the three essential aspects of being grateful. The first one is obvious, accepting what is now, accepting what is. The second, that must be in the now, because if it is in the now. And if you are grateful in the now, and where else can you be grateful? You are grateful, your little self, your little me dissolves. And that's the goal of all practices. So if you start being grateful, that's what you're in for. And sometimes it's difficult to track this little me down. You see? it's quite evasive because we identify with it. And it's quite evasive. And one way of tracking it down is catching it when it complains. And there's where the complaining comes in. It has a habit of complaining. And so I'd like you, since you mentioned this word complaining, I'd like you to tell us more about complaining.
No.
Then I will tell you something about complaining too. But start us off. Would you like to take this again?
Oh, sure.